Welcome back. I'm Frank Luntz. Let's take a look at the three leading contenders for vice president and how you rate them. First up, let's take a look at how our panel rated Paul Ryan, congressman from Wisconsin.
When I was working 3 jobs out of college, waiting tables to pay back my student loans, I did not think of myself as stuck in some condition of life as some victim. I saw myself on a road of opportunity, trying to realize my version of the American dream, pursuing happiness how I defined it for myself.
Before we get to a conversation about Paul Ryan, let's take a look at how they reacted to Florida Senator Marco Rubio.
The economy's worse off, the debt is $5 trillion higher, and he's become increasingly divisive. In fact, this president's rhetoric today, quite frankly, is just like anybody else in Washington. All the things that made him different and special 4 years ago are gone, and now all he does is run dividing Americans against each other, obviously because he can't run on his record.
And now let's take a look at how our panel reacted to Ohio Senator Rob Portman.
Mr. President, we need a proposal taken up by this United States Senate that's driven by good economics. And instead, what we're getting this week is one that's driven by campaign rhetoric.
And who better to run down these best choices than the former presidential candidate, businessman extraordinaire, and someone who I would call friend, Herman Cain. Please welcome him.
Thank you. Thanks, Frank. Happy to be here. And thank you.
So what does Mitt Romney need in a vice president? What should be the attributes that he's looking for?
Number one, someone that complements his skills. Number two, someone who can also provide a sharpened message to the American people. Thirdly, someone who has the depth of knowledge or the experience that'll help him be president of the United States of America. It's a big job, as you know. And so if it were me, I would look for someone to complement those skills that I naturally bring to the job.
Okay, so if it were you, which one would you choose to put you on the spot?
Of those three,
yes,
I would choose Lieutenant Colonel Allen West out of Florida. Okay. He wasn't one of the three. If it were me.
I'm just curious. You started in applause immediately. How come?
Because West is one of the few guys who actually gets it. I mean, his statement a couple of weeks ago about the Progressive Caucus was 100% right. I was actually going to make a comment. Paul Ryan, in that clip, I don't remember whether it was before or after, made a statement. The fight that's going on in the country right now is between modern liberalism and classic liberalism. The fight is not between left and right. The scale is actually not left and right. It's anarchy versus totalitarianism, and that's the issue that we've got going on.
You've been paying attention. That's a good thing. But now, of the list, Frank, if I may add, of that list of the three you did show, I would pick Representative Paul Ryan. Number one, because...
Do you guys agree or disagree?
Representative Paul Ryan of that list, and here's why. Because his budget guru skills. I mean, he understands the whole budget process. I think that Mitt Romney would be well to have someone like that because navigating the legislative process is going to be critical in that regard. Secondly, he is bright, he's sharp, and he's articulate. And he has the energy to complement. So he would be a good complement from that perspective.
Your reaction to Paul Ryan?
It would be the economic powerhouse. You'd have someone who can write budgets and someone who has actually run businesses. And so to have the two of them together, we'd have a good solution for our country economically, which is our #1 issue right now.
I want to hear from Obama people. I want Obama people.
I think that Paul Ryan will destroy the humanity of the United States as we know it.
I do too. I also think that Paul Ryan will do the same that she says and stuff.
How?
Because
that's a misunderstanding
he's cutting so many budgets and stuff. He's hurting a lot of people, I believe.
He wants to cut everything. He wants to.
He has not proposed a single.
Everything needs to be covered.
A reduction in
1.4 trillion in debt.
We're broke.
A year.
The reduction that
proposed a reduction, increase of spending.
The difference between, the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans is something like 4% of spending. It's ridiculous. There's such a there's no difference.
Yes, and I want to ask you a question. Is there a significant difference between Republicans and Democrats? And I do want to ask, she used very strong language.
Yes.
Is that appropriate in politics today?
It is not appropriate in this case, with all due respect, what you said, and here's why. Most of the proposals by the Democrats, they want to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic. Here is the narrative that we need in this country. Not more reform. We need to restructure these programs. If we do not restructure, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Restructure. We got to change the way it is administered so people will take more ownership in the benefits that they get. If we don't restructure them, I hate to tell you, this nation is financially doomed.
We are not. I object very strongly to your analogy because we are not on the Titanic at all. People in France,
the United States are more money than exists on planet Earth right now.
We're a sovereign country. We
can never be paid.
We have resources that can always keep us afloat. Our money is not a problem.
Michael.
I'm saying that we are a sovereign country. We'll never really have the financial disaster he's talking about because we can produce things in this country also. We have resources.
In my age group, which is like the mid-20s, we all have this overwhelming feeling, and my conservative and my liberal friends both feel like we will not have Social Security. And we won't have things that were promised to us. And the answer is not to keep on going along in the same path that we've been going on for the past 30 years or 40 years or 50 years. You need to restructure what's happening to allow people to have the kind of security that you had when you were my age. And it's not fair to hear you say that we don't deserve that. We should just chug along and hope it all works out for the best.
Okay, this is...
Hold on. I want to give Herman Cain the last word. This is the American people.
This is the American people, and this is exactly representative of many of the American people, and it boils down to this. Those that view themselves as Democrats make emotional decisions. People who view themselves as conservatives and Republicans, they make decisions based upon facts.
You agree?
Now, what I'm saying is, you make your point. Now, with all due respect, when you made your point, you made an emotional point, but you gave no facts. Allow me to finish. This gentleman and others,
we got to get out.
And others were using fact. It's a fact that she's made an observation about not having it. But it's the difference is emotional arguments versus factual arguments. That's what this represents, and that's the country.
And that has to be the last word. Herman Cain, thank you very much.
Thanks, Frank. Happy to be
Please
here.
thank him for coming. Coming up, the great political debate right here on this stage. Who is running America and who is ruining America? Two congressional leaders square off, and former Democratic Governor and Senator Evan Bayh will tell us if Washington is just too darn partisan. So stick around. The best is yet to come.